那个非常感谢大家今天来参加我们的这一个思慧教育的讲座哈，因为今天我们的时间呢可能不是特别的多，因为 Jasonpaul 他只有1个小时的时间，所以我就非常快的过一下我们前面的介绍。华人咖啡俱乐部呢，我们成立于2017年，是位于纽约的一个华人的一个在线的社群。我们目前呢，我们的这一个注册用户呢是已经超过了15000人，同时呢，我们还有数十个微信社群。我们的这一个我们这个主题呢是包括了很多哈，大家可以看到，比方说求职啊、金融投资啊、青少年教育，还有我们的这个职场提升，以及我们的这样的一个比方说我们的留美法律，还有以及我们的身心健康群。大家对我们的这一个社群感兴趣的朋友呢，在我们的 Q&A 的环节呢，我们会有小助手的2维码露出，大家到那个时候呢，可以扫2维码进入到我们的社群里面来。好的，现在来介绍一下接下来下周的2个讲座。第一个讲座呢是9月22号周二。因为我们也知道哈，现在呢是这个接近这个12年级的学生呢，他们进行这个申请冲刺的一个阶段了，所以呢，思慧呢，我们也是邀请了多位前招生官哈，来自顶尖大学的前招生官，从不同的角度呢，来给我们的这个家长和孩子呢指点迷津，也希望呢是最后能助推一把孩子的这个名校之梦。我们周3的话呢，是请到了前杜克大学的招生官，他带来的这个主题呢是最后一刻 last minute 的这个大学申请文书写作建议。Will 呢，他不仅是这个杜克大学的招生官哈，他也是担任这个普星教育的这个 Senior Vice President， 以及这个曾任这个啄木鸟教育的 Vice President， 所以他在这一个教育行业的这个经历呢是十分资深的。星期六呢，我们是请到了 John， 他是来自前康奈尔的文理学院的招生办主任。他会带来的话题呢是如何利用华裔学生的背景来进行这个精英大学的申请。John 呢，他是有10余年的这个本科招生的丰富经验哈。他之前呢也是在我们的这个思慧平台上进行过2次讲座。第一次讲座呢是有700多人参加，然后第2次呢也是一次付费的答疑哈，也是有超过200多名家长参加。所以呢，他是被我们的这个家长呢评为最受欢迎的这个升学讲座的嘉宾。这2场讲座呢，我们之后呢也会发到群里面，所以呢，请各位就是感兴趣的家长呢，及时留意我们的群里面的信息。好的，那现在呢，我就进入到今天的这个讲座环节。今天呢，我们是十分隆重的邀请到了Jasonpaul McCarthy。Jasonpaul McCarthy 呢，他是 WeDesign 的学术总监，此外呢，他还是帕森斯设计学院巴黎校区时装设计系专业的这样的创办人哈。同时呢，他也是担任这个帕森斯纽约校区时尚营销 AAS 专业的系主任。他呢是从这个伦敦皇家艺术院校毕业之后呢，是曾经在这个伦敦、巴黎、纽约、东京以及上海等多地的这个高等学府呢任教是超过了10年。所以呢，他对这一个艺术设计，特别是服装设计的这一个领域的这个科系的架构、课程的开发以及教学的各个环节呢是非常的熟悉。我 personally 呢是认识Jasonpaul， 我们呢也在一起工作了超过2年的时间，所以今天呢也十分荣幸的能邀请到他来给我们的华裔家长呢来一堂这个关于艺术院校是如何挑选学生的这样的一个从不同角度来进行这样的一个讲座。好，我现在呢就把我的时间呢交给 Jasonpaul。Okay, Jason, I stop sharing. Now it's your time.
Thank you, Alison. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm excited to talk to you. Alison has briefly gave a little summary of my background, but I'm just going to add a little bit more onto that. And hopefully today I'm going to share with you a little about why studying art design is the future, but also some helpful techniques and tips and some advice on how to prepare yourself to apply to the top art and design school and what some of these schools are looking for in their portfolio and your application. And please, again, feel free to ask questions at the end, and hopefully you find this encouraging, inspirational, but also just really insightful into thinking about studying art and design. We might have parents out there students from undergraduate, pre-college, high school. So hopefully this information can really be appropriate for all of you different audiences. So as Alison said, I've really spent a career across art and design, working at a number of different companies in the US, in the UK, in China, and also in Paris. And I've been able to really put together a lot of information and experience and expertise about how to really study art and design. I studied at the Royal College of Art in London, and that's where I trained to be a fashion designer on my MFA in fashion women's wear. And after that, I went on and had a good career, working as a designer, working as a creative director. But education was really something that I felt powerful to do. I feel education is really the opportunity for the future, and it helps you to really create huge change. And we'll talk a little about how art and design really helps change the future in a video that I'll share shortly. I've been very lucky to travel around the world, especially to China, giving workshops, giving talks, been judging shows, been in on competitions. But I really love teaching students. I really love giving them the opportunity to change their life and their career. But what I want to talk to you today really is about some of these key aspects. Why study art and design? Are you suitable for that type of industry and that type of education? What are the schools really looking for? And how do you really apply, and what do you need to apply with? So the first most important question is, why study art and design? Why do I think it's the most important thing for our future? Well, it's not about painting a pretty picture. It's not about designing a dress. It's more powerful than that. And I'm going to share a quick video. And this is from a video from the Tate Museum in London. And they talk about why studying art and design is very important.
There's a deep desire in us to make pictures. I mean, they've been drawing for 30,000 years. The teaching of drawing is teaching people to look. That's what it's doing.
It was really when I was at art school that I started to see the relationship between history, philosophy, politics, and art. Prior to that, I thought that art was just making pretty pictures. Actually, art is connected to, life.
You can't teach art in the same way you can teach French. French exists whether you do it or not. But when you're doing art, the center of doing art is in yourself. Most of the literate subjects do not ask that of them. So this develops an entirely different realm of skill.
Creativity is critical thinking. And without it, how are you going to really open up and ask harder questions? And art opens all of those kind of passages and possibilities to think beyond what we already know.
In a child's education, that doors need to be open to other universes, other modes of thinking. And art is a non-prescribed, dangerous world full of possibility. And I think it's a vital space for children to have in the formative years of their education.
From a top-down level, you don't have innovation if you don't have arts. It's as simple as that.
It doesn't matter if you're going to study history or geography or science, you still need to be creative, because the people who are the outliers in those fields are the most creative people. To have art in schools be eroded, which is happening at the moment, is disastrous for Britain, I think, because our best industry is the creative industry.
Art and cultural production is at the very center of what makes a society what it is. And for an entire new generation not to know what is the cultural and visual history of ourselves is kind of denying our own identity.
Art is a reflection of the society that we are, the kind of mirror that art holds up, the way that art helps define the identity of a nation, that you can trace that back historically. It's deeply embedded in humanity.
What art education does to people who are not going to be artists is giving them the opportunity to build certain aspect of themselves that otherwise will be either ignored, undeveloped, or repressed.
It's all about kids finding out who they are, and they're all different.
That you can be whatever you want to be is something that art certainly taught me. It can access a part of your brain, body, spirit, mind that nothing else can.
Nothing is more stimulating, exciting, consoling than looking at a brilliant painting.
Art in schools shouldn't be sidelined. I think it should be right there, right up in the front, because I think art teaches you to deal with the world around you. It's the oxygen that actually makes all the other subjects breathe.
There's a great quote by John Ruskin: art shows us what it is to be human. And really that's why art should be on the curriculum.
So I hope you like that short little video. I think it's very powerful, and it really explains why we should study art and design and why it's a huge subject for the future. Art really is life. Art is politics. Art is history. Art is innovation. Art is culture. Art is humanity. Art celebrates our differences, our individuality. So it's such a powerful subject. And again, everything around you needs to be designed. Someone has to design that. And through history, designers really evolve society, language, and culture. And again, design really creates us a better future of inclusivity, access, equality, and opportunity. And of course, as a student studying art and design, it improves your elements like the eye coordination, problem-solving skills, lateral thinking, critical thinking, self-expression, creativity, confidence, and that sense of individual identity. So again, art and studying art is not just about painting a picture, it's not just about designing a dress. It is such a human instinct of culture that we've had with us through history. And again, design also gives you opportunities to enrich your life through experiences like traveling, connecting to people, new customs, new cultures, new interactions, and also stretches your mind with new possibilities to question and observe and create. So I'm a big believer and a big supporter of art and design, of course, to enhance your life and your career, but also everyone around you. So hopefully I've convinced you that studying art and design really is the future. But of course, why and who, how do we study, and how do you know if you should study art and design? Well, first of all, anyone can study art and design, and the video showed us that it's not only art students, but non-art students should study art and design, because it gives you lots of skills that you can apply to all different industries. But how do you know? How do you really know that art and design is something you should study? Well, it has to be through experiences. You don't know if you can ride a bike unless you try and ride a bike. The same with art and design. You need to experience these subjects. You need to explore these interests to see if that is really something you're passionate about. Again, what do you like? What don't you like? Really invest into spending hours on deciding if this is for you. Other things you can also do, of course, is get advice by teachers and counselors, and that can really help you to know if you really think you're good to study art and design. Of course, there's some skills that you really need when you're studying art and design. And of course, this is like your build over time. But these are some of the things I think are really critical when you're studying art and design. I think being curious and observant, be looking around you, soaking things in, having to look at things in details, and really seeing how that reflects to you. Question why, question how, question what. Again, really important is that when you're studying design. Hard working, of course, and going above and beyond. Just doing a still life drawing, just doing a figure drawing is not going to be enough. You need to go beyond that. You need to apply your identity to your art and design. And again, think about how does your art and design create a better future? That's something that the schools are definitely looking for. And your approach to collaborate and also work with others. So what can you study? There's such an array, there's such an enormous amount of exciting courses that you can study at universities and at colleges. But again, that's also somewhere that you might want to start to decide whether art and design is for you. These are just a few different subjects, from fashion design to architecture to game design to illustration. But there's so many more different courses now because the industry is changing. There's such an advance in different technologies, such an advance in how we look at design and art. that you'll find there's thousands of different courses that you can study. But like I mentioned, art design is not only just for art students. You know, art design can be for non-art students who maybe they're applying to a science degree, or maybe they're applying to an Ivy League school, because again, it gives you that extra advantage. It gives you that competitive edge over other students. It also helps you to present your work in a much pleasable, much more creative way. It also helps you to think more entrepreneurial. And again, it just adds that extra element to your application, that sort of extracurricular aspect to your work. But I think the key thing that I want to touch upon today, and I think maybe one of the big reasons why you're here today, is what are schools really looking for in selecting their students. There's thousands of students that apply to art design school. They all have very good skills. They come from very good schools or courses. But what are they really looking for? What are they really looking for when they select you? First of all, each school is very different. They might look at certain things in a different way based on the city that the school's in, based on the program you're applying for, based on the mission of the school. So again, invest time into really researching the school, researching the campus, researching what the types of student work have come from that school before. Also take a look at what they're doing externally with partnerships, and that will also tell you the types of students they're looking for. Because you're an ambassador of the school, and that's an important aspect. So this is 6 of the key ingredients that I think that a lot of these schools are really focused on when selecting their students. We'll talk a little bit about the actual application, which is the portfolio side, the reference letters and the essays. But these key ingredients are what is really unique to what they're looking for as you as a student. The first thing is this entrepreneurial mindset, that you're ambitious, that you're thinking beyond just the normal. You're being adventurous. Think of Elon Musk and SpaceX, for example. He's so entrepreneurial. He's thinking beyond space. He's thinking to go all the way to Mars. He's thinking about driverless cars. So they're really thinking about an entrepreneurial mindset of being ambitious and thinking beyond what is already exists. A global citizen. They're looking for someone that really is connected to the world, connecting to different cultures, willing to exchange and work with diverse communities. Someone that's very worldly. Someone that's willing to share their art design to impact not just their local environment, but their global environment. Someone that's really caring and compassionate about design and human society. And again, this compassion and caring, I think, is something that we really need now in our world, and design is a very powerful access to that. One of the things I think is the most important thing is you being unique to yourself and your design identity, your perception and your focus of authenticity. And what do we mean by that? Is basically you are the most important thing in your art and design. You are the most important thing when you apply your art and design, because it's you. Art is you. And that's what they like to see in your work. That's what they really want to see as part of your portfolio, part of your application. So again, you really want to show them who you are, your personality, where you're from, what you find unique and what you find very interesting. So again, your unique perspective, which is your design identity and your character and authenticity. And then the last one is being an ambassador. You're an ambassador of the school. You're representing the school. When you go and you're accepted, you become an ambassador of that school. And you're going to be going out there in the world as a designer that's from that school. So they want to celebrate you, they want to support you, but at the same time, you're going to be an ambassador to that school. So again, how you approach yourself, how you articulate yourself, how you come across in your portfolio, in your essay, they want to think, wow, this student is going to be an amazing ambassador for us. This student is going to be someone who's going to go out there and be a beacon of light, a lighthouse of design. And again, these are some of the key ingredients I think that they're looking for. And you might ask me, well, how do you show that you're an ambassador in your portfolio? Well, maybe the ambassador part is in the interview. Maybe the ambassador part is in the essay. How do you show that you're a global citizen? That could be in one of your projects. Your projects could be something that's more about a global citizen project. It might be about impact, environmental impact. It could be a social, cultural impact. So again, that's something that you might want to consider. They also want you to share how you think. So, you know, your brain, your mindset, your methodology to design. And that normally comes across in your process pages in your sketchbook. Because again, they don't always just want to see a final outcome. They also want to see your process, how you think, how you connect, how you make decisions, how you observe. And again, that's why sometimes just a final outcome is not enough. Showing your sketchbook and showing your process. Again, how you feel, how you get inspired, who inspires you, what you get inspired by, your views, your observations. Again, that's really going to help them to understand the type of student you are. How you connect your research, how you connect your methodology and your design process to create that outcome. And again, that's why I said, like art, it's not just about painting a picture. There's so much more in your portfolio, in your application that these schools are looking for. But I think one of the key things now, especially these top design schools, is they really want you to think about and really to share and see your reflection on society through your art. Because like I said at the beginning, art is the future. Art is going to be what impacts the environment in the future, society and history. It has been for hundreds of years. So again, that's an important aspect that you want to try and reflect in your application. So there's some of the very critical things that schools are looking for. But of course, as well as them critical things, there's also the application itself and the application material. And these are requirements, of course, from multiple art schools. Some are very similar, some are a little bit different based on the type of school. But one of the most important, obviously, application for art schools is this portfolio. And the portfolio of work that represents you, some of the critical elements, but also additional elements when it comes to your technical art and design skills. So what you'll find when you're applying for art and design school, there'll be some similar elements that you have to include and of course apply with. You know, there's forms, there's transcripts, there's scores. But I've highlighted here some of those key elements that you have to focus on. Portfolio, if there's a school challenge, a personal essay, and then the last two, which is a letter recommendation and the interview. The interview sometimes is optional, but definitely the letter recommendation from a faculty, a counselor, someone in a high position to really be able to share their experience and share their evaluation of you as a student and your artwork. Really speaking to you as a creative individual, speaking to your strengths and speaking to your potential. But we're going to focus a little bit on the portfolio right now because again, you know, today's session is only about 45 minutes to an hour long. But again, each of these elements will make a difference. There's not one that's going to just tick the box and get you accepted. All of these things are elements that are going to be considered for your application, especially the challenge. If you're at a certain school, Parsons, RISD, FIT, each have different challenges based on their requirements. So developing a strong portfolio. And again, we have a lot of students in our program we design that are developing these portfolios, and I get a lot of questions and I support a lot of students in developing their portfolio. And the key thing with a portfolio, of course, it needs to show some critical elements that we spoke about earlier about your creativity, your global citizen mindset. But of course, it also needs to share some of your unique skills. So what are your skill sets? You know, whether it's Photoshop, whether it's graphic design, whether it's fine arts, it might be animation. So of course you need to show some of them skill sets in your portfolio. Your interests, you might be interested in the human body. You might be interested in nature. You might be interested in space. You might be interested in a certain type of area of your program or your major. It needs to show your design process. So again, like I said, not just a final outcome. It needs to show your research, your sketchbook pages, your doodles, your thinking. And again, that's really one of the critical parts, I think, of a portfolio that some students miss out. And then the schools find it hard to really understand how you think. Your creativity. So again, how you transfer your research into an outcome. how do you take an object that maybe you've been given as a brief and turn it into something amazing, something innovative? How do you change and add your unique perspective on that, your unique design process? Your design identity, and again, that's something that you'll build throughout your journey as an artist and designer. But at that point in time, what is it that you're trying to express? What is it that your identity is? Are you focusing on designing for a community of wheelchair users? Are you designing products that are going to help the environment? Are you designing products to save energy or enhance the sun for solar? So again, really having a focus on what that could be is really going to help the schools look and see if you're the right one for that institution. Curiosity is a key thing for me. Like, if you're not questioning, if you're not reflecting, if you're not asking who, what, why, then I don't think that necessarily art and design is for you, because you need to be very curious. You need to be invested in your subject to explore it to the point where you're really grabbing the resources, you're really having a conversation with yourself and your art. And again, your unique vision. But when we think about the US universities and the UK universities, the most important thing that I encourage you to show, again, in your sketchbook, is that experimentation process. Again, the breadth of who you are, what you can do, and your personal identity. So I think if there's one thing I want you to take away with today, is show that experimentation in your portfolio. And again, your portfolio, when you apply to art and design school, isn't the end. You're not an end designer, you're not the end artist, you're still work in progress. You're going to be a work in progress throughout your life. So again, your portfolio also needs to show your potential. You're not going to be maybe the best illustrator yet. You might not be the best fashion designer yet. That's okay. What's important is you show that potential, you show that creativity, you show that experimentation, you show that passion, that desire, that motivation, that curiosity in your sketchbook. And trust me, they will see it. These admission officers will look at a portfolio and they will feel it. They will feel that energy from your pages. They will see how you're playing and questioning and writing notes and experimenting, and they'll feel that creativity. They'll feel that curiosity. So it's very visual, very evident in your portfolio. But of course, it's also in your essay and your personal statement, because your personal statement is a key part of your application. So again, if you're just saying, I'm from here, I've always loved art and design, I've always loved Parsons, and that's why I'm applying, that's not enough. You need to really inspire them. You really need to dig deep and say, this is why art and design is my future. This is what I want to make change with. This is why art and design is me. This is why art and design for me and this school is where I need to be. You need to convince them. You need to really sell yourself through your portfolio and your essay. But when you're obviously applying for your art and design school, sometimes a lot of your work's physical and you have to translate it into a digital layout. And most schools now really are looking for a digital application, which of course makes it much more accessible to multiple students in the world. It makes it an easier playing field for everyone to apply. Some still have a physical portfolio if you're in that city. So you have to really juggle this idea of how do you transfer physical work to digital and vice versa. And especially when you're working in a sketchbook, which you're sticking things down and you're collaging maybe or writing notes. So again, one important thing that I would learn as a student and try to get some tips on is definitely transitioning your work from physical to digital, because you could do an amazing image, amazing painting or sculpture, and you could really document it in a really bad way. You could really photograph in a really bad way or scan it in a really bad way, and you're not going to get the true creativity, quality for your application. And I've seen a lot of that portfolios, and that's one of the things that if you can really do that really well, then you're going to have a better chance. I've seen really bad ones. And then in the end, you don't show your potential. So again, physical to digital, try and learn all them skills. And it can be a little bit hard, but again, this is an example of a sketchbook. So again, this is great, you know, image development of this student. This student's actually a fashion student. She's developing her project based on nature and humans and how we need to all connect back to nature. So this is her sketchbook. This is another student of mine, but again, this is how you turn into a digital format. So you can see how now this is a separate project, but you can see how the student has digitalized her sketchbook. She's, you know, used the software to put it into this format so it's clear, concise, and really shows their experimentation, really shows their research, shows what they're interested in, and really shows that full process from beginning to the end with the final outcome. Again, this is another student. This is a student that was applying more for graphic design. I think it was RISD, I think, or maybe SVA. And again, this is sort of the first little development of the concept, creating this sort of pop-up brochure book, and then working on this final outcome and trying to document it and photograph it. But again, just shows that creativity in that process. But of course, some schools are going to ask for, you know, still life drawings. They're going to ask for observational drawings. They might ask for just one, you know, sort of outcome. And you can still put it into your portfolio in a very creative way. Again, this is the same student that you saw earlier. And as you can see here, he's able to not only do some graphic design, publicational, he's also able to do some still life and show his expertise across multiple subjects. And again, he's really been able to scan his work from the physical to digital really well. Also, when you're doing your portfolio, think about the names of your work. You know, give your work, you know, a name that reflects what the artwork is. It could be a literal name like toilet, or it can be something a little bit more abstract like negative thoughts. So again, even that itself is also expression to the admissions team, how you even think about the title, how you even think about your artwork. So what is it like to study at some of these schools? And, you know, I've been very lucky enough to be a teacher at a lot of art design schools, Parsons and SCAD, and obviously I studied at the RCA and have friends and colleagues at LCF, and I've been to lots of different art design schools. And I wanted to touch upon this a little bit today, is because I think it's a critical thing that I would always encourage all the students when they're applying to art design school is to invest their time in, because the school, the city, the types of students they already have are the types of students they're continuously looking for. Of course, they're looking for new students, more diverse students, students with different interests. But again, that city and that environment also is going to be important for you as a student, because you might decide, I think I'm going to be much more successful in New York. I think I might be much more successful in London. I think that environment helps me to nurture the most. So that's what's important also, not just the school, the city as well. So obviously Parsons, a huge, you know, art design school, you know, one of the best in the world. You know, I was lucky enough to be a professor there and a director. But the city of New York is Parsons Laboratory of Learning. It's not just this building, it's not just your classroom. The city of New York is amazing. It is just full of inspiration, just full of creativity, full of curiosity. So again, Parsons as a school is very much about inside and outside learning. It really uses the city as a laboratory of learning. At Parsons, you'll do a semester-based curriculum, 15 weeks. You'll have classes with your professors and your fellow students, and you'll gradually build your skills in your subjects to your final thesis collection. What Parsons do really, really well is they do a lot of collaborations. They do a lot of partnerships with external organizations to support students' learning, but also help them to win awards and also to help them on that transition from being a student to graduation. And one of the greatest things about Parsons is they have also Parsons in Paris. And I was lucky enough also to be a director at Parsons in Paris. So you can exchange, you can go there for a semester. And again, that unlocks even more potential as a student and designer to study in Paris and get a different context to your art design, but also learn new techniques and new skills. Savannah College of Art and Design, another really successful art design school based in Savannah, Georgia. They also have a school in Atlanta. But Savannah is very different to Parsons because the city is very different. I would say Savannah's a little bit more relaxed. It's a little bit more charming and I think it's less heavy and less intense than New York. It's a little bit slower, but for some students, it helps them to focus more. I know lots of students that, started in New York and it was just too busy for them. It was too intense, so they transferred to SCAD, and vice versa. I've had students that have started in schools that more of a relaxed environment, and they need a bit more up-tempo city life. So again, as a student, reflect on that. But the great thing about SCAD is that they have so much to offer. They have the historical side, of the city itself. They have a huge film festival. And they also, have a really interesting mix of the old and the new, not only in their interior design, but also in their programs. They're really looking at this old and new and how to sort of work with both of that within the program. So again, SCAD's a really exciting school. They're on a different system, the quarterly system. So again, you'll have the similar things with your faculty in your classroom, and again, your resources around you. And what they do is they bring lots of experts down to the school for guest lecturing and for teaching you certain skills. And then the last one I'll quickly talk about today, which is more of a postgraduate school. So again, the Parsons and SCAD undergraduate and postgraduate, and they also have high school programs. But the Royal College of Art is very much a postgraduate institution. So again, because of that, really they focused on real industry developments, real resources that can help you to push forward that industry. Because when you study a master's degree, it's not about learning skills anymore. It's not about learning the basics. It's really more about why are you studying that subject and what are you going to contribute to the industry of that subject? How do you advance it? And again, a lot of it's through the techniques, a lot of it's through the resources. And again, your classes are very different. A lot of classes are more tutorial based and more mentorship based. They're less as a group class. You're not going to be being taught these fundamental skills. It's more about nurturing your identity even more, really nurturing how your art makes an impact and really your professionalism within that program. But the RCA was an amazing experience for me. They do a lot of connections to partners, to external projects, and I was just very honored to be a part of that institution as a student. But the good thing is there are so many great art schools out there. There's so many great art programs for students that it's really more about your approach to the school. Of course, the school itself is going to support you and the school itself is going to give you great education, but you as a student is one of the key fundamental elements to your success. How you produce, how you developed, how you approach the classroom, how you approach your courses, how you develop your work, and how you think about yourself. Because you are your art. The video from the beginning very much told us that art's life. Art is history, art is you, art is humanity. So you are your art. So you have to find it from you, and that's an important part of studying art design. So the last thing I'll cover today, and hopefully you can have some questions to ask me at the end, is how do you prepare yourself then? So I've told you, why studying art design, I think is really important and a really valuable career for the future. I've sort of shared the types of techniques or criteria that schools are looking for when you're applying to art design school, and sort of the portfolio aspect. But how can you prepare yourself? Well, first of all, understanding, exploring or experiencing your art subject. So then what you love, what you love to study, what school you would love to go to, what city you would like to be in. And again, sometimes students find when they're even beginning that journey, they don't know. So they apply for undecided major, and that's okay too. The key is to have some idea by doing some experiences, by doing some still life drawing, by making some garments or creating some sculpture. You'll have a connection to that. Be committed. I can tell you that if you're not committed to art and design and you're not willing to work hours and hours on improving your skills, really improving your work, researching, going out there and finding resources, you're not going to succeed as an art design student. You have to be very committed. This is not a part-time job, and it's not something you can just do on the side. Being an art and designer is a full-time job. So again, really being committed is really important. Experimenting, being open to fail. You have to experiment, which means if you fail, that failure means the next one's going to be maybe the solution. And in the end, nothing really fails because it's just a part of your learning. It's just part of that next step to improve, that next step to find that solution. And again, motivate yourself, be ambitious. Be ambitious to say, this is why I'm doing this subject, because I want to make this as my career, or I want to really help this type of audience or industry. And then find mentors to guide and support you. Don't do this on your own. Get help from people, get help from your parents, from your colleagues, from your friends, from your teachers, from your school. Find people to help and support you. Like this presentation today, I'm hoping that some of these elements that are going to register with you can help you think about a little bit more your journey and your art and design application, or how you can be interested in art and design. So again, get support that can help you through your journey and get reflections on that. And of course, build a portfolio of work that really shows your best potential and your best work. Try to keep on learning and try and keep on being the best you can. Again, make your work really relate to the world around us. That's really what the schools are looking for. And ask yourself questions, why do I create? Why do I create this piece of artwork? Or what do I want to change? What do I want to improve? Or what do I want to bring to the future of this discussion around art and design? Because the environment in our society is really what art and design is. And art and design is really the future of the environment in our society. So, really focus a lot on that when you're thinking about applying to art and design schools and developing your portfolio. And that's one thing we do at WeDesign, and I'm not going to speak too much about that today, and my colleagues might share that after or in the future. But at WeDesign, our goal is really to teach students online and offline and help prepare them for art and design school. And that's developing their portfolio, essays, getting them recommendation, because we have a lot of really high successful faculty from a lot of these top design schools. So we have our students in class with a lot of these top master faculty and teachers to help support them for their application and helping them to develop who they are as a designer and why art design is for them. And again, we've been very successful in a lot of our students applying to many different top art design schools. And that's what's so fabulous about art design. There's so many schools, so many diverse courses that you can apply to so many different institutions and have such an enriched experience. So there's not just one school. Always look for all different types of schools that are going to work with you. And again, one of the important parts that I mentioned earlier, this recommendation letter, is make sure you do get someone that can really speak to you. It's someone that can really speak to your experience, your portfolio, who you are as a student, your ambition, because that can really make the difference also in your application. Because again, your admissions office that you're going to apply to really look at that letter. But one of the things I think is really important about art design and what WeDesign create is this idea of community, this idea of creating this design community. So we teach students, I teach students, we have multiple different programs. We have so many successful students, but what the key thing for me is we create this community of art and design. We share information, we share knowledge, whether it's online, offline, through our webinars, through our videos, through our competitions. So again, whether you're interested in WeDesign or not at the end of the webinar today or in the future, I still would encourage you to connect to us, learn from us through different platforms and just engage with us as a community, because you'll learn a lot, and that can hopefully help you on your journey, and hopefully that can help you think more about art design as a career. And again, you can look at us on YouTube, on WeChat, on their different platforms, and find out more information if you need to. So I hope that was some helpful tips and suggestions. If you're thinking about studying art and design, if you already thought about that and you need to know what is the most important thing for my application, what type of thing do schools look for, how important is the portfolio and how should the portfolio be put together. Again, I'm really open to have any questions now, and I can answer you the best I can. We can also follow up after on WeChat. And again, I also do other webinars on portfolio design. We do webinars on evaluations, essays, as well as recommendation letters. So please keep in touch with us and my team, and hopefully we can support you and help you the best we can in your application and your art design journey. And again, if you want to contact me as well, feel free. Here's my WeChat. You can, contact me on the website as well. You could, of course, contact Alison or any of my team if you want to reach out to me. I'm always open to, hear from parents and students. And my goal is really to give you the opportunity to really use art design to change your life, but also impact our future environment and our future society. So thank you for listening. And feel free, I'm hoping to answer any questions now.
Okay, so thank you, Professor Jasonpaul, very much. And let me share my screen a little bit. Okay, wait a second. So we have some interesting questions, but wait a second. Let me make Colin co-host too, so she can share screen or something. Okay.
So Alison, I tell you what I'll do. I'll go through the questions, and if there's any I don't know, then maybe Colin can jump in with the Chinese translation. So, and I'll try and go through all of these today. I have a few questions on here. So can you please list national top fashion design competitions? So Tina, what I'll do is I'll share some links after, and I'll share some links in this group because there's a lot. And there's not just one top fashion design competition. Also, I'm not sure if you're talking about student competitions or more like industry competitions, because there's a lot of different ones. If you're a student, of course, there's arts fashion design competition. If you're more a graduate student or a student studying, there's a CFDA, there's the LVMH prize competition. So Tina, what I'll do is I'll share some links, and you can also reach out to me separately because there's so many, that might be the easiest way for me to share that. And also you can follow up with me on anything else around that as well. So hopefully that's okay, Tina. Then the next one is in Chinese. Or is that just from you, Alison, explaining the question?
That's just me explain some rules. So you can go to the next one, which is asked by
Xiaowei. Yeah. What are some basic skills all design students should process? Should they all learn sketching, drawing, painting? If so, is 12 years old a little too old to start those lessons? Great question. Honestly, anytime you start on design, you should. If you're 4, if you're 10, if you're 50, there's no real too old or too young to start art and design. I think, whenever's the right time, do art and design. If you can do it earlier, I think it helps you to be creative. It also just helps you to be expressive. 12-year-old is fine. You're not too old if you're 12-year-old. You've still got a long time to study. And, what are the basic skills? Yeah, I mean, definitely drawing, sketching, making, playing with materials, playing with colors, doodling. Really, when you're starting off thinking about art design or you're starting to learn, it's not about how well you can draw, and it's not about how accurate you can draw. It's just about playing with your materials, playing with drawing, playing with your clay, or playing with, paper mache, or maybe you're playing with wood and trying to build a sculpture. Because really the most important thing when you start art design is that you like it and that you're motivated by it, and it's something that really makes you feel happy and something you desire. So sometimes by doing that can really help you to think about whether it's the right career and obviously the right education for you. But definitely learning to sketch and draw, that really helps you for the future and how to communicate your work. Learning to paint helps you through color and texture. But again, also materials. I think building and creating things is really important. There's a different type of skill set you'll learn. And also, again, reflecting on your thing you create, or reflecting on what I can create outside. I was at an art store here in California, and they did a competition on coffee mugs. And all these different students had to design a coffee mug. They all got the same coffee mug, and they all designed it in multiple different ways. And I felt that was something really exciting. I thought that was something really creative. So again, there's loads of different projects that you can do. And I'm going to actually quickly see if I can share that right now with you guys, just because it's always good to share it so you can see it. Let me find it. Here we go. I'm going to just share this with you guys. Oh, it's taking a little bit while to upload. So here's just an example. So again, a really just creative project where you can apply to some sort of ordinary, object, your creativity and your own unique perspective. So again, it doesn't have to be like an amazing piece of artwork. It can be something very, very sort of traditional or as a product. But yeah, learning the basic skills is always going to help you in developing your first set of designs. What if you're interested in making people feel happier and potentially making something that people might go to when they aren't feeling great? Hey, design can also just be something that you make people feel happier. I could wear a colorful garment that could make me feel happier. That's as important as designing something for a bigger purpose that people might think. People should feel happier. So that could be a great thing. I'm not sure if I'm very interested in changing the world, but rather making people happy. Perfect. Through designing, particularly designing characters, great. I mean, I love watching animations or Pixar or Disney because just seeing these characters make me happy. I just saw a movie called Luca. Luca, he rides around on a Vespa, and that just made me smile. So again, absolutely, it's not always about this sort of huge, impactful purpose, but trust me, it is quite huge to make people happy. So again, whatever you feel naturally you want to do, and I don't think it's just too small of a goal. I think it's really important. Like, I think we need more people to be very, very happy. And if that's what design does for you, perfect. If design makes you safer, perfect. If design makes you relaxed and more chilled out, perfect. If design makes you more prettier, perfect. Like my light screen here, like I look better because of this light screen in front of me. So again, that's a product that someone's designed to make me look prettier in a webinar. This computer, someone's designed to help us to communicate. So they're as important and as valuable as any type of design approach. But the good thing is, Nicole, is that you have that already. You want to make people happier. So let's do this. Let's create art and design to make people happier through designing these characters. From what age grade do you recommend to design the career with We Design? Good question. We normally take students in the portfolio program in grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's really that. So grade 7 to 11 is really the portfolio grade, our students. Before that, we normally do offline summer programs or more sort of traditional art and design skills like sketching and drawing. But when it comes to portfolio and thinking more about that for art school, we sort of do 7, 8, 9, and then 10 and 11 are two separate, more advanced courses. So if that's helpful, hopefully grade 7 to 9 is sort of the first part of the foundation portfolio, and 10 and 11 is really more the application to the schools. And again, Nicole, please follow up with me if you have any further questions about that. If you have ages and grades in mind, and I can help you and recommend that. Oh, Nicole's got a part 2. Also, what if we are not able to pay tuition? I'm afraid I won't be able to pay the art school. Again, great question. Of course, that's an important part of your application. And what we do at We Design, when we're looking to apply to the art schools, of course, we are trying to look at your scholarship as well. We've been lucky enough, again, I don't know what the total is today, but I know that when I last looked at it, it was over 2 million. We've been able to successfully get over $2 million of scholarship for our students. Again, that just can change your future. We had one student got over 100,000 scholarships for a school, and so many different schools that offer scholarships now to help students that maybe can't afford some of these tuitions. Again, I wouldn't use that as your first, I can't study art and design. I think that's the criteria that we have to consider and find solutions for. I think the key thing is, do you want to study art and design? And if that's your passion, I believe there's a solution out there. I believe there's an opportunity for you to be able to study. And it might be that you pick a certain institution that you get more scholarship from because that helps you to study art and design. And again, there's so many great art and design schools out there. That's why I think, you know, you're in for a good opportunity to still be able to reach your dreams by studying one of these top schools. It could be a local school, it could be an international school. But of course, tuition is also something that you have to consider. That's why we really focus a lot on the scholarship when we apply with our students. And our students are very successful with their scholarships. Some students also do part-time jobs when they're studying as well, and that could also help with their tuition fees. Sometimes they can transfer some credits, which can also help their tuition fee as well. But of course, you know, education is something that is invaluable. You know, although it might seem when you're applying for art and design school, it seems expensive, but trust me, you know, I couldn't be where I am today and had the career I've had and the journey I've had without going and studying a top art and design school or just an art and design school. It's an invaluable experience for me, and it's priceless in that respect, but I also understand that it does cost money. So we should look at scholarships, we should look at competitions and how we could help to reduce that. So thank you for that good question to Nicole. Okay, the next question is in Chinese, and my Chinese is not as good as Alison's and Colin's. So
that's another question, so you can keep going.
Oh, perfect. Hopefully it's like you're the best, Jason.
That's some parents said if it's in Chinese, it would be better. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure that we can follow up and provide, you know, some more Chinese in the future. Okay, thank you for your presentation. Can you advise how to build a great foundation in terms of art skills set for the art college admissions? I mean, if you're really thinking about the foundations, of course, I think about the principles of art and design. So of course, there's drawing, there's making, there's, you know, sketching. I think, you know, and maybe film and animation or motion, you know, getting a camera, taking photography, you know, just using technology too. We have a foundation program that's 2D, 3D, craft, and digital. So again, 2D is your drawing, you're learning how to sketch, draw, it could be characters, it could be observations. 3D, you're learning how to make, create sculptures, it could be create a garment, play with materials. Then there's the craft. So craft is applying some sort of craft. It could be pleating, it could be printing, screen printing, it could be some craft. And then the digital could be Photoshop, Illustrator, could be using a camera to photography, it could be create a film or a movie, making some models. So I think, you know, for me, 2D, 3D, craft, and digital is the good foundation skill sets to build for your college admissions application. And again, that's our foundation program that we can discuss separately with my team if you'd like. And that really helps you to think about all these different elements of art and design. So thank you for that question. Made me think of our foundation program. How early should the students start preparing for the art college application? I mean, as early as possible. When it comes to the actual physical application, I think 2 years to build your portfolio for application is a good amount of time. Can you do it in 1 year? You can, but I think you have to have some art and design experience before that. We do still take students with 1 year left with no art experience because we can build a portfolio strong enough for the application. But I would recommend, if you had the time, 2 years is really a good amount of time for your portfolio application. Of course, prior to that, you should still be learning art and design skills, some fundamentals, playing and having fun and just learning. But again, you know, if you're really serious about studying art and design, I would give yourself at least 2 years for the portfolio. But it can still be done in one year if possible. Again, sometimes it depends on the student's schedule, depends on, you know, also their background. Are they at an art school or not currently? But that's a good question, thank you. What's the career prospects of art students? Oh, what a great question. It's endless, it's endless. You know, if you, again, look around you, I can look around in my room and everything in my room is designed. From the building to my computer, to the apps on my phone, to my tools to design with, to my work over there, my garments, my curtains, someone has to design curtains. So again, everything around you gets designed. So what I tell students when they're thinking about their career, of course, the first thing to think about is your subject. So is it fashion? Is it graphic design? Is it animation? Is it industrial design? Is it in interior design? So once you get your subject, then you can start maybe thinking more about career prospects. And don't think about career prospects in like, I want to be a designer. It doesn't really mean anything, right? Everyone's a designer anyway. When you get up in the morning, you design what you look like. You design your makeup, your hair, you design what you eat on a plate. So don't think of, I want to be a designer. Think more about what you want to create and how you want to impact that. So whether it's the environment, whether it's some sort of community, do you want to create posters for a music festival? Do you want to be someone that creates buildings that are more sustainable? Do you want to be someone that creates a language for visually impaired? So again, there's so many career options if you think more like that and less just about being a designer. And also, the good thing about design is a lot of them careers or the positions are not there yet, because they will be in the future. A lot of the careers out there now won't be there until 5-10 years time, because we'd advance our technology and we'd advance our society. Creating digital artwork, that wasn't there a few years ago, but now we're creating digital artwork to sell. Again, if we think about apps, or if we think about sort of social media, that wasn't there before either. So now we're designing these social media platforms, Zoom, for example, to teach online. So again, when thinking about your career in art and design for students, don't think about being a designer, because that's just too general and everyone's a designer. Think more about your subject, maybe what you want to focus on, what you want to impact. Again, it might just be to make people happy. Okay, so how do you make people happy? Where? Do you make people happy in a gallery space? Do you make people more happy if they're in a nursing home? Do you make people more happy at a kindergarten school? Do you make people happy more in a playground or in an environment space? Do you decide to focus more on an office for your interior design? Do you focus more on homes for your interior design? Do you focus more on parks for your external spaces? So again, that's how I would try to think about your career, and hopefully that's helpful. Does Parsons value SAT scores and GPA highly? Is there a minimum requirement, or do we need to focus on our portfolio instead of more? Again, I always recommend you go to their site to get the full information of GPAs and requirements so that it's accurate. One of the most important things is TOEFL scores as well. So always consider that, especially when you're applying to some of these schools in the US specifically. Everything is something that's going to be considered. I mean, I honestly think that, portfolio, your personal essay are the most important things. I think, that is really going to show you that critical skills, your interest, your global mindset, your entrepreneurship, your creativity, your design focus. They're going to be the key important things. But of course, if you don't have your certain test scores, your certain requirements, then they might not even consider you from the beginning. Or they might consider you, but of course, if someone else has got a higher one, then there's no reason they're going to pick you. So that's why everything counts. That's why you should always try your best, try your hardest, but at the same time, always apply. Always apply, because you never know. They might look at your portfolio and be like, do you know what? Their GPA is not the highest, but their portfolio is so amazing. This student is an ambassador that we want at our school. We're going to take this student. So again, I can't tell you how fully the admissions team think when they're looking through portfolios and applications, because there's so many variables. I believe that I know a lot of the elements they're going to consider, but I also believe that you should always try your best and always apply, because hopefully your energy comes through in your portfolio, your application, and hopefully then they'll accept you. And again, my team can share with you the requirements for Parsons. They can look up that information. When we work with our students, we go through each school and we look at all the requirements to make sure you satisfy them in your application. Okay, question. Would you suggest us to visit museums and galleries, art shows to get more creative ideas, or take art classes in our limited time? Oh, absolutely. Immerse yourself into art, where it's museums, galleries, online, offline. Because the thing is, art's been there for hundreds of years, and we need to learn from the past, the present, to develop the future. So you need to look at the masters from the past hundreds, 200 years. You need to look at, the masters of the Renaissance, the medieval, it really helps you to look at the context of art and design over history. It gets you inspired because you can see how other people have applied their personality, their expression. I just recently went to a Van Gogh exhibition, and oh my God, it was amazing. There was all his paintings in the room on a projector, and I felt Vincent van Gogh. I felt his emotion. I felt that I understood his work much more through this exhibition. And that helped me to think more about my art. It helped me think about how do I want to express myself, but also how he thought, how he uses materials, how he was inspired, how he was questioning. So again, I would definitely suggest that you try to visit museums, galleries, art shows. The more that you can reference, the more that you can be inspired by, the more it's going to help you understand you and your artwork and your application. And sometimes I get students saying, but I don't want to copy. And if I look at other people's, I might copy, and that's not a good thing. Everyone's been looking at everyone else's artwork for years, for hundreds of years. That's part of art and design. It's part of evolution. It's part of technology. You get one piece of technology and then someone improves it. You get this one, then someone improves that. They build off that latest technology. The same with art and design. They build off the latest bit of art and design, whether it's fine arts, fashion, and they improve it. So you have to look at it. You have to understand what comes before for enable you to use your creativity for the future. Of course, don't copy, don't plagiarize, don't just do what someone else has done. I want you to do what you interpret that to be and inspires you to create a better product or a better innovation. But of course, also take classes. Again, that's more of a self-reflected, inspirational journey of referencing. You go into art galleries, questioning them yourself. But again, sometimes you need experts, teachers, mentors to also teach you skills or mentor you with your work too. I had a class this morning with a student, and we was talking about her inspiration, and I was saying, what are you inspired by? How are you going to transition that to design? What things do you think you're missing? What are your strengths? How can we make it, improved? What about if we look at it in this way? So sometimes you do need that mentorship as well to help you develop your art and design. Because sometimes you think something looks good, but something that looks good doesn't really relate to anything. What's good, bad, and ugly is very subjective. What's more important is the critical questions about, is it related to your inspiration? What are you trying to improve? How is it trying to impact something? How are you making people happy with this design? How are you making it in a certain way? That's what's really important. And that's what really you want to try to build as your critical development. So thank you for that question. But yeah, I'm a big believer in referencing, visiting museums, go online, whatever you need to do to get more references. If students want to apply for a non-art school, or with art as one of their talents, what's the difference of the portfolio preparation? I mean, it depends on the school. Again, it depends on the school's requirements for the application. I would say the big difference is the fact that you're going to have something more than someone else. You're going to have something maybe as a project, maybe, or an extracurricular activity that's going to show that you've not only got these types of skills, which might be more science-based maybe, or maybe it's mathematical based, it could be liberal arts, maybe you're applying for I don't know, maybe an engineering program, but then you've got this other aspect that shows your creativity, shows your innovative thinking. It shows that you can also apply this aestheticness to your work. It also shows how you can present something maybe in a much more desirable way, but also that you are able to cross different industries. And that's one important thing that maybe I didn't cover in today's lecture, is that no longer the students really study one subject and they keep on going. Schools are really looking for students to be cross-disciplinary. They're looking for you to go to that institution and, you say you're a graphic design student, I'm going to also work with a fashion design student. I'm going to work with an industrial design student. Or if you're maybe an illustrator, I'm going to work with an animation student. So I'm going to work with maybe a student in photography. Because in the end, you're going to get greater work. You're going to get greater outcomes. And together, working with other people in an industry, you can create something much more impactful. You know, you're not going to be able to do everything on your own. So again, I always would recommend students when they think about art design, also broaden their skill sets, be cross-disciplinary, learn from each other, learn from different skills and subjects, because actually what that can do is that can improve your subject and your work. And that's where innovation comes from. Innovation comes from cross-disciplinary learning, referencing the past and the present, and then designing your expression and your art for the future. So that's really how you want to try and look at art and design. But thank you for your questions. You know, very great questions, very crucial questions. If you feel I didn't fully answer your question, please, you know, follow up with me after. I'm happy to have a dialogue, happy to have a call. You know, you can reach out to my team.
Hey, Jasonpaul, I think Yolanda actually is like raise her hands all the time through the whole webinar. I'm just wondering, do you have any question you wanna, you know, I unmute you and you ask, or just like mistakenly raise her hand? I think she lower her hand. So anyway, so yeah, I think she disappeared.
What? Look, Yolanda, I'm raising my hand too. I see you. I hear you. So again, you can feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm happy to help and support you. But thank you for all your questions. This is actually the part I love the most, because I really would like to, where possible, provide, you know, my suggestions, my support to you individually with your specific questions. So I love this part of the webinar because I feel that we're able to really talk about some of the questions that maybe I didn't touch upon in the actual presentation. How do you contact me? Okay, well, you can contact Alison, you can contact my WeDesign team, or again, here is my WeChat. Whoops, there we go. Let me go to the end of the presentation. Here we go. So again, you can scan the QR code and, you know, I'll accept you at some point in the next few hours or few days. You can even go on my website. You can have a look at, you know, some of my past work, but definitely contact Alison. We've got some great programs. We do evaluations of just portfolios. You know, we can just look at your portfolio of work. We can look at your background and give you some suggestions. And that could be with some of our faculty and myself. Or if you want to take a larger program, a number of courses, or if you're interested in applying to art school, again, feel free to reach out to us, and you know, we're happy to discuss it with you. And you know, we're here to help you. I'm here to support you, and I'm really passionate about, you know, how art and design can really make a difference. So, you know, that's my goal, is to really help you find out who you are and how you can make a difference.
Okay, thank you, Jasonpaul. Thank you very much. I know you have
the QR code doesn't work.
Okay, I show you some, maybe Jasonpaul, wait a second. I show you this one. So if you can. Okay,
there we go. Use this one then.
If you guys want to have more questions to ask Jasonpaul, I mean, you can scan the QR code on the left side. Yeah. So you can get into our WeChat group and we can do some follow-up.
You're right, it was invalid. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, you can still find my WeChat at Prof. Jasonpaul. But thank you for finding that, and that was good design thinking. That was good critical thinking and observation and curiosity. So you was able to point out that mistake, and that's important. Trust me, like, you know, if there's something that's not right and something you need to improve, then you need to point it out. So I'm going to give you an A* for telling me that didn't work, and I'm going to make sure I fix it. And that's part of design. That's part of improving. The code is too small. Maybe, yeah, maybe it's time to do that too.
Okay, thank you, Jasonpaul. So, I mean, I know you are running short of your time, so it's an honor to have you to speaking to our audience. And okay, so maybe now we give the time to Colin. So Colin can introduce a little bit about the WeDesign programs.
I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to do one last thing before Colin introduces the programs. And again, this is an example to all you guys out there that never settle for second best. Never settle for things that don't work. Always make sure you can find a solution, and always make sure then you can share that solution. And you're probably thinking, what is it? I'm going to share you my WeChat, and hopefully this is the right one. Here we go. Here I am. So you guys can scan that now, and hopefully you can connect to me. Does that one work, Eden? Yeah, perfect. All right, Colin, you can take it away. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today. And hopefully in the future we get to meet again. And hopefully I get to help you with your art and design.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Bye, Jason.
Thank you.
好 ，Colin， 你直接share 你的 screen 吧，然后我把那个评估表的那个 link 发到 chat box。
好的，好的，因为刚刚我们的学术总监，然后 Jason 老师给大家就是 share 了一些他的 presentation， 然后怎么挑选学生这些。接下来我给大家 share 就是说我们会怎么样帮助到大家，特别是说，因为我自己也是艺术生嘛，如果大家是家长啊或孩子的话，就是说如果他有作品集或者说想申请国外艺术院校，我们有哪些项目呢？那今天主要是给大家有3个项目，我 share 一下我的 screen。OK，so 第一个项目呢，其实是一个我们的艺术作品集评估项目。这个项目其实是给有一定基础的孩子们的，就是我们家长可能会觉得，我的孩子他会画画，比如说他会摄影，然后他自己做了一些作品了，我们可能不需要找外面的老师给他进行长时间的辅导，他自己的水平是什么样子的，我们特别想知道，能不能就拿这个去升帕森斯，能不能就拿这个去升普瑞特呢？那这个时候呢，我们的艺术作品集评估项目就是1对1的。对您的孩子的这个作品集项目来进行一个评估，然后呢，不管你有什么内容，可能你觉得我的作品不是很多呀，不是很专业啊，但是只要你在这个评估过程中跟老师提出来，然后你最后想到达的目标是什么样子的话，他都会给你一个很好的建议。我现在大概介绍一下，就是说我们的评估过程呢，是学生会准备一个作品集和他的问题清单，包括我这个作品集适合什么样的学校，我这个作品集适合什么样的专业呢？因为比如说就说设计吧，设计有产品设计，有这个工业设计，有建筑设计，有 UI UX 设计，然后sorry， 我在
screen， 对，你没有点
开吗？
啊，
我点开了，
我看我这边看到的是你没有点开哎。
不好意思，我刚刚没有点开吗？
对，你试一下，我这边看到还是没有点开。对，
现在呢？
你要不要重新你 stop sharing 一下？你 stop 然后再。
我好像打开这个就不能点开，为什么呢？我 stop share，sorry， 不好意思，我们的同学稍等一下。怎么会这样呢？现在应该能看见了吧？
现在可以了。
不好意思，我刚点开那个文件夹，然后这个是我们的艺术作品评估项目，然后我跟大家过一下这个项目，这个不是一个课程，它不是一个课程啊，它是一个评估项目。那评估前呢，我们会需要你来准备，你有哪些作品集，你可能自己放到一个文件夹里面，放到一个 folder 里面，然后你把你的所有的问题都准备出来，比如说我想申请什么专业，我适合什么样的学校，我能不能拿这样的作品集作为我申请常青藤学校或者是普通大学的一个特长，这些问题全部都会包括在里面。那我们的导师，比如说，你想升时尚设计，那我们会配 Jasonpaul 老师，因为他是时尚设计的专家，他在这里面有20年以上的教龄了嘛。那如果你是升建筑设计，那我们可能有另外一个老师，所以说我们会有导师跟你进行1对1的匹配。 然后评估开始前呢，我们一般是用 Zoom 来进行的，就是说如果家长想参加也可以，但是把自己 mute 掉，或者是说先让学生来 present 自己的作品和作品集，对吧？要让学生自己来说话，让孩子自己说话。然后呢，这个过程中就像我们刚刚的 Q&A 问题一样，老师会来过你这个作品集，然后交流提问，然后根据你的自己有的东西对你提出一些问题啊，然后了解你真正想做的是什么，然后他才会提出你的修改意见，包括申请准备的建议，都是根据你的目标和你的问题来进行，在这个基础上面来进行建议的。然后呢，如果是说我的孩子可能，当然我知道我们咖啡俱乐部的很多都是北美的家长跟那个孩子们可能不太会需要翻译，那这个是一个 optional 的选项，就是说如果你的孩子或者是您想听，然后英文没有那么好的话，我们也可以配一个翻译进行同步的翻译。然后评估后呢，这个项目我们会有一个非常详细的报告，包括对于你每个作品老师的想法是什么，就是说你什么地方可以继续改进，这个作品应该比如说你有3张照片，那是不是我发展到5张照片就可以变成一个作品集了，或者说我要再做同样2套一样的作品，然后我才可以拿去做申请。那它会有一个非常详细的评估报告。那这个项目最适合的就是说你手头已经有一些作品的学生，然后不管你是高中生想升大学的，大学生想升研究生的，研究生想换专业的，或者只是想看能不能转专业的，都可以来参加我们这个艺术作品集评估项目。然后这个项目呢是价格是$300，然后呢在申请的过程中也会就一些面试的技巧啊，然后怎么写你的个人陈述，就是你的文书，都会给你更多的建议。所以这个项目是适合所有一点点作品，然后不知道自己该不该考艺术院校，或者想考艺术院校不知道现在的作品做到什么程度的，是最适合这个项目的。然后也可以跟我们的老师进行1对1的交流，我们都是1对1匹配的。那这是我们第一个项目。好，我现在放下我们的第2个项目。第2个项目的话，我这边介绍的，因为我知道我们有更多的家长可能是自己的孩子对艺术学校感兴趣，但是大家可能觉得我们不一定要升艺术院校，我们可以把这个艺术院校作为一个备选，但是主要我们来升一下常青藤的学校，或者是美国前10的大学的话，用艺术来作为一个特长，那最适合你们的是这个单项作品集背景提升1对1。然后刚刚我在 Chatbox 里面也看到有家长在问，就是说那我做一个背景提升，就是我把艺术作为一个特长，和我真的去升艺术大学有什么不一样呢？那很直接的告诉你，就是如果你把艺术作为一个特长的话，你的作品不需要做的有那么的好，但是他会更看重你的推荐信，你的可能参赛或者获奖，然后你的有没有一个完整的作品，或者说你在这方面有哪些 connection， 你做过什么，参与过什么展览。那这个项目呢是适合我们的，其实初中生的话，可能初中生你想考艺术高中，或者说初中生你从现在就开始积累也可以，但是最适合的是高中生。那我们这个项目是有4个专业，现在目前有4个专业，时尚设计是 Jason 来教，插画设计是 Ronnie Dillon 来自皇家艺术学院，3D 动画我给你们看一下老师吧，这边都有。3D 动画是我们多米尼卡，他是罗德岛设计学院的老师，然后纽约大学加州艺术学院，然后建筑设计是安娜。所以说我们现在有开了4门专业，你可以通过这4门专业来做背景提升。那我们这个课程是保证学生上完以后有作品产出，保证我们会帮你把你的艺术作品印刷成册，或发表的话，或发表可能你要自己去买书号，但我们会保证你印刷成册，然后保证你的作品呢会参加我们的学员艺术展览，一个大展，然后你就可以把它写进你的不管你是申请什么大学都是有一个艺术展览经历，然后保证你会收获这个教你的老师的1对1专属推荐信。那这个含金量还是很高的，因为大家看到我们的老师都是不是说 top 5，也是全世界 top 10的吧。然后最后就是有机会推荐参与国际设计大赛及获奖，这个我也跟大家说一下，就这个是不保证的，因为也要看，比如说你的申请季之前有哪些国际设计大赛，你的作品适不适合去投放，所以这个是有机会，但前面都是确保的。 然后呢，我们这个项目是由 VIP 大师课堂、双语助教辅导和作品集印刷工作坊几个 section 组成。然后呢，这边我也可以给大家稍微看一下，就是说，哦，你这个只是做一个背景提升，是不是你就不是正儿八经的课程？我们感觉就走个过场一样。那我也可以给大家看一下我们的那个课程大纲，你就知道哦，其实这个课程还是为你孩子还是就是怎么说，它是很好的设计，然后让你能真的学到东西的。所以我给大家看一下我们这几节课的课程大纲。好的，我来给大家看一下。我们的就是刚刚那个背景提升课的课程大纲，像这个设计一个时尚系列，这个 Jason 教的。那我们的看一下啊，我们从你的时装设计流程与研究、视觉叙述，然后立体剪裁，然后 design identity 设计发展、设计迭代，然后到你的 fashion collection， 你最后要做一个 fashion presentation， 所以它也是非常系统化的一个东西，你最后能把这个作品给做出来的。然后这个是我们的 Ronnie Dillon 的角色设计，我刚刚说成插画设计的，但是他也是做插画。OK， 然后呢，就是这是我们的课程计划，我给大家过一下，不是说现在就是大家要看到，而是说我们的课程是非常精心设计的，不是说就是一两节、两三节，然后给你做个背景提升，上课就完了。这个是真的希望大家能学到东西的。好，这个是我们最后是我们的3D 动画，因为动画也是这些年比较火的一个专业吧。大家可能想尝试的，可以来试一下我们这个3D 动画课。OK， 这个是我们的背景提升。最后就是说，这个我也不是说太长吧，就是最后就是说我们家孩子他就是想考艺术类院校，他需要做作品集，你们这边能提供什么帮助呢？那这边的话，我们是这个 VIP 作品集项目。为什么说这个项目我也可能不会说太长时间？因为这个 VIP 作品集项目呢是1对1的，然后完全是按照您孩子的他的目标、他的基础，然后他感兴趣的内容来进行课程设计的。所以说这个课程的话每个人都不一样，然后我们最终是以帮你孩子做出一份能够申请国外，不管是国外最顶级的艺术类院校，或者是你拿去申请欧美这些顶级大学的艺术类门科的这样的作品集，是真的用来考大学，然后考研究生的这样的 VIP 作品集的话，这个要参加我们这个项目了。那这个项目我就不多赘述了，因为要根据我们的评估结果，你最适合的课程是什么样的，然后来帮你做课程设计。然后这个是我们的王牌项目。一个老师一个学生可能会接触到好几个不同的老师。你的设计课可能是来自皇家艺术学院，然后你的游戏设计，或者说你的时尚营销，你可以 take 不同的课程来完成一个作品集的，然后会有很多老师来服务一个学生。所以这个是我们的VIP 作品集课，然后目前为止我们是申请成功率是100%，就是说每一个在我们这边参加我们 VIP 作品集项目的学生，这边是他们的一些作品，然后都拿到了自己申请的当然自己喜欢学校里面然后满意的 offer， 每个人都有 offer， 然后这是他们的一些作品。那我就先介绍到这里吧 Alison。你 mute 了好像。
好的，那个特别感谢今天大家来参加我们的这一个讲座哈。那个如果大家有问题的话呢，可以举手，我看那是不是能unmute 大家。如果是大家就对那个微迪在的项目特别感兴趣的话呢，我们可以等一下可以进到我们刚刚拉的那一个艺术升学的群里面，我们可以安留。好，我 allow you talk。您可以问了，安留是吧？您举手了，您现在，我看，wait a second， 您可以说话吗？我好像可以，我已经 unmute 你了，安刘同学。
不好意思，我刚刚无意把那个东西打开了，我没有问题 ，sorry。
哦，所以你不是要问问题是吧？
不是的，我不知道怎么。
好的，行，谢谢。行，那个我看一下哈，可以把刚才快速飘过的宣传册发给大家吗？还有人就是微迪在的联系方式是这样的，您可以进到我们这个群里面，因为我们也想减少我们的那个小助手他们的一个就是说咨询时间嘛，所以大家如果是想要比较认真的进行一个咨询的话呢，我建议大家的话可以扫一下这个二维码。然后我们的 Colin 呢，他其实也是在群里面的，所以基本上如果你有什么问题的话呢，你可以在群里面直接的问。之前 Jasonpaul 他也告诉我们说，因为他很抱歉，这一次他只有1个小时15分钟的时间来进行这一个presentation 和答疑。如果我们家长和小孩有更多的关于艺术升学的问题的话呢，可以在群里面直接发出来，然后我们可能会整理一下交给 Jasonpaul， 然后 Jasonpaul 可能他也会到群里面来进行一个统一的回答。因为那个微 design 的这一个项目的话，它可能有3个项目嘛，一个刚刚他说的那一个1对1的作品集评估，因为好像这个讲座开始之前的时候，我有接到我们的那个咖啡的一个观众就问到说他小孩想要参加一个比赛，但是现在已经有了作品集了，但是他想要就是说进行一个最后的一个评估，所以我当时就说你今天晚上可以来听一下这个讲座，然后你再决定是不是要参加这个评估的项目。目前的话Jasonpaul 他自己本人可能会给出3个评估的名额，所以就是说如果您想要就是说进行一个评估的话，1个小时的评估，然后外加一些其他的一些 feedback 的话呢，您现在可以扫这一个右边的二维码，然后填一下表，然后我们的小助手呢到时候会联系您，因为他也是他是日程比较繁忙，所以我们也尽量不占用他的更多时间，所以我们只会给出3个名额。好的，行，我把它给stop sharing 一下。
那个宣传册，我觉得也是可以通过那个填表咨询了以后，您说您比较就是，比如说您因为那个填表里面会选择你想要什么艺术专业嘛，那我可以把相关那个专业的比如说学生作品啊，然后更多的一些资料发给您。您刚刚说这个快速飘过的宣传册的话，我觉得就是说咱们有的放矢，就是说您想要看哪一个，然后你填表咨询给我留言，然后我都可以发给你们。对。
到时候我们可以把这个宣传册分享在我们那个群里面，所以我们现在有一个这个专属群嘛，然后您可以拿手机对着这个二维码扫一下，进到这群里面之后呢，我们把那些更多的资料什么的发到群里面，这样大家看的会更清楚一点。然后现在有2个问题，如果大家时间还足够的话 ，Colin 你可以回答一下，或者我也可以回答。对，
然后有一个问题是说，高中生什么时候开始做准备最好？可能是这个意思吧。但是首先就是我这个问题真的不能很 general 的回答你，因为您说是高中生，但我不知道你的作品或者是你的基础是什么样子，对吧？那像我自己的话呢，我是大学申请研究生，然后我申的是纽约视觉艺术学院，我准备的时间大概是1年左右，但是这是我的时间，我告诉您的，但是我每个人的基础都不一样。像我不是跨专业的，我本科就是学艺术，然后我研究生还是学艺术，所以对我来说，我的准备时间可能会比较短一点。但如果您是零基础的高中生的话，那刚刚 Jason 也说到，最好是2年，就是说零基础2年，你会有一个比较好 timeline， 尤其是说很多院校其实你们不知道，就是说 early decision 是一个拿 offer 率更高的一个时候，所以就是说你越早申请，你可能越早拿到 offer， 那你越晚申请，你要跟更多人去竞争，所以说高中生的准备时间我会说1年到2年吧，看你自己的基础。然后第2个问题是，请问不是艺术类院校，是不是艺术类专业院校不太看重比赛，更看重作品？综合类高校用艺术做特长，反而看重比赛。我觉得这个其实 我可以说70%是对的。为什么呢？因为其实做一本真正你拿去申请专业艺术类院校的作品集是需要精心准备的，而你去参加一些比赛拿1、2个奖，这个东西其实如果你真的花时间和花一些钱去投资的话，这个东西不是很难，但是这个水分和你拿这个奖项的含金量也不一样，对吧？那你真的拿到一个设计界的什么普利策之类的奖，那可能也是很有含金量的。但是您这个第一句话的话，70%我觉得是对的，就是说如果你要申请专业艺术类院校的话，作品集一定是最重要的，而不是说一些可能没有什么含金量的比赛。但是如果你拿来做特长，你说哎我参加过这些比赛，那可能别人就觉得还挺好的，就是你有和没有的区别。那然后说，请问我家孩子喜欢怎么了
？Colin， 我也可以补充一下那个他的问题哈，就是说是这样的，就是说如果你是要申请专业的艺术院校的话呢，他看的可能不是你的其中一幅作品或者是一个 project， 因为一般的它的 portfolio 的话呢，一个完整的 portfolio 它可能有4到5个不同的 module， 就是说 projects， 所以每一个project 里面呢，它从你的这一个构思到这个 process， 然后到最后的这个成型，它是有一定的这个逻辑在里面的。所以的话就是说不是说单幅的作品拿出去就可以去申请这个艺术院校，然后艺术院校他在看你的作品的时候呢，不只是说看你会不会画画，或者你最终的这个 final 的这一个 project 长成什么样子，它其实是看你整个一个构思的一个过程。所以就是这一点还是有点不太一样的。当然，如果你说是拿去给综合院校来所谓的做加分项的话，他可能因为老师不了解所谓的艺术嘛，所以他可能只会看到那个奖项。然后我补充一下哈 ，Scholastic Art Writing 含金量很高。对的，这个应该是全美可能是最有名的，就是类似艺术类这样的一个比赛了。对，这个含金量是非常高的。然后 Colin 你可以继续了。然后他问他家孩子喜欢 fashion design。
OK， 因为他孩子喜欢 fashion design， 然后这几个院校有什么区别？那这个我肯定1、2句话说不清楚，但是因为我就是在纽约读书，然后确实是认识一些在 Parsons 和 FIT 以及在普瑞特学 fashion design 的学生吧。你真的要问我有什么区别？可能我觉得 Parsons 的 fashion design 非常注重一些业内的 connection， 我觉得他们会跟很多业内的设计师啊，然后包括一些比赛吧，然后很有合作。然后 FIT 的话也是非常好，这些都是非常好的时尚设计类院校。FIT 的话感觉是更重技术，那我还是希望就是说，如果真实想就是咨询这几个院校的话，能给我们就是扫2维码让 Jason 来回答，肯定回答的比我好。然后 FIT 的话，我感觉就是他们出了非常多很有名的，就真的让现在很有名的一些设计师，但是说比较重技术，他们的技术是很好的。然后普瑞特的话，如果是用我的朋友来说的话，因为我亲身经历，他们那边会有一些比较 creative 的 fashion design， 可能不是那么上 T 台的，而反而是在一些艺术展览做展览的。当然我觉得我说的不是很准确，因为我不是这个专业的，然后这个问题非常的 broad， 我希望大家能fashion design 是 Jason 的强项，而且他就是 Parsons， 我希望大家能填表来咨询。
我也可以再补充一下，因为我之前是就是说和 Jason 一起工作的嘛，所以其实 fashion design 的话呢，你看就是说小孩是不是必须要在纽约读这一个 fashion design， 因为你想全美国的话，它当然 Parsons 的 fashion design 是排名第1的，然后它的这一个 resource 也是最好的。当然就刚刚那个 Jason 在那个讲座里面提到，就是说你学一个艺术专业的话，它本身的这个排名可能不是说最重要的指标，因为你所在的城市可能是也是比较重要的一个考虑因素。所以呢，很多人会选纽约和伦敦，因为这是2个所谓的这个时尚的中心嘛。当然，如果你说还有其他一个学校 fashion design 非常好的，就叫做 RISD， 那个罗德岛设计学院。他们的这一个时装设计呢，也是还蛮强的，但他们走的是更抽象的一种风格， 就他们可能像帕森斯的话，它是比较实用主义，就你就知道美国的这个风格，然后呢就美国实用的这种穿着风格。但 RISD 的话，它更像是伦敦或者是圣马丁那样的风格，就是它比较抽象，你可以天马行空的想你所想的东西，设计你想要设计的东西。所以这个主要的话还是看孩子自己本身的一个兴趣。对，好，那个继续，还有最后一个问题
，OK， 好。如果申请艺术院校，在校成绩很重要嘛？那其实在校成绩就是说标化成绩嘛。那每一个学校还是有他们的要求的，因为比如说，因为我是升研究生嘛，比如说升研究生的话，要求你至少所有学校 GPA 3.0以上，然后可能还有一些其他的要求，这个每个学校都要求不一样，但有要求不是特别高，可能但是每个学校都不一样的，在校成绩不会占你的申请特别大的一个比例，我是能说，因为作品集是最重要的。
这2个学校时装设计风格，我想了解一下。您说的是哪2个学校？您可以打字在这里面哈。那个讲讲交互设计。哎，我跟你说老实话，其实我们2个不是交互设计的背景，所以其实你现在叫我就是说讲交互设计的话，我可能不是那么专业哈。但是交互设计的话，我觉得像看 depends on 你想去哪个城市。然后像交互设计的话，我知道如果你是帕森斯的话，帕森斯有交互设计这方面的专业。当然还有刚刚有人提到了那个卡内基梅隆的那个 School of Design， 那个学校的话，它更多的它其实是一种人机交互，所以它的这个东西的话，可能更不是说那么偏艺术，它可能偏更实用，或者你说是这个data science more related。所以我就看就是说小孩以后想要走的是什么风格。对，如果他是偏艺术一点的话，比如就是说动画设计的话呢，他可能可以比方说考虑像纽约的一些学校，包括 RISD 的动画也是非常好的，包括那个 Collin 毕业的这个 SVA， 它的动画也是非常好的。但如果你想走的是更多的比方说设计 APP， 或者以后甚至是想要转到一些 visualization data visualization 那一块的话呢，如果你能考得进 CMU 的这一个 School of Design 的话，我觉得是非常值得去的。当然他们学校我知道也是比较难进的。那个纽约帕森斯和罗德岛的这个区别哈，因为这2个学校的学生我都之前有接触过。帕森斯是这样子的，就是说帕森斯的对不起哈，我这在纽约，所以外面有那个 siren。帕森斯的这个他的教学风格的话呢，他其实更偏实用。你比方说他有毕业的比王大仁吧，那个 Alexander Wang， 然后还有Mark Jacobs， 他的一些比较，还有Kevin Klein， 我忘了他是 Kevin Klein 是 FIT 还是帕森斯？
我 FIT 的，
对，然后他们的风格其实更是美国实用主义，它的商业结合的非常好。像帕森斯它里面的那个时尚营销专业，还有它的时尚管理专业，它是把这个商业和这一个 fashion design 结合的可能算是最好的一个学校。但是 RISD 的话呢，它其实就是一个比较 fine arts 的一个学校，所以它也不在纽约。那这样的话呢，它的这个设计风格的话，可能会更偏纯艺一点。所以罗德岛毕业的这个 fashion design 的学生呢，也同样非常优秀，但他们的这一个 idea inspiration 的话，会更狂野一点吧，可以这么说，就是它更天马行空一点。对，但如果你以后是真的想要进入这个 fashion 的这一个比较商业的这一块的话呢，我个人还是建议帕森斯可能比较合适你。然后下面还有那个也是来自 Adam 的问题，那个 Colin 看你要不要回答一下？
是那个 SAT 吗？
不是啊，有人问 SAT， 是不是也不太重要？
SAT 就是这些标化成绩不重要，但有标准啊！大家不要想的就是说，我申请艺术类院校，那我 SAT 可能考个比较低的分数什么也可以，其实也不是的。像那个西部学校，基本上 SAT 都要100分以上，然后东部学校的话，每个学校可能差一点点，90多分，100多少，就是不重要，但是有标准，每个学校都不一样，所以说 要考进顶级的艺术类院校的话，也不能太差，就是，纽约帕森斯 ，OK。请问你们课跟自己的 pre-college 和 summer camp 相比有什么优势和区别？如果您刚刚看了我分享的那几个就板块的话，我们的课都是做 VIP 1对1的，也就是说所有的老师为您这个学生一个人服务，然后根据你的目标来帮你完成你的目标。你想考罗德岛，那我们帮你做一个专门用来申请罗德岛，或者说同时也可以申请其他学校的这个作品集。然后罗德岛有什么 challenge， 然后我们也会来帮你一起做。那其他各类艺术院校的 pre-college 和 summer camp 它只是给你一个学分，就是说如果你真的考进去的话，你可以用这个学分，但是它不会帮你来做一个作品集，然后让你真的考进去。所以说这个是一个 main difference， 而且我们是多个老师或者是一个老师 VIP 来帮助学生，而不是说一个老师带一个大班的学生。那你的目标是什么？其实人家不一定知道的。一个 summer camp 下来。
好的，那个我看大家应该我们的问题都已经回答到了哈，然后可能更多的互动的话可以在群里面进行，然后呢到时候我也会把那个填的那个表格的 link 放到群里面，然后大家呢就说如果有想进一步更多的了解微design的项目的话呢，你们可以填那个咨询表。OK， 好的，那特别谢谢今天 Colin 的这一个分享哈，那个也感谢现在还在线的70位观众，周末愉快，然后我们下周3记得我们的这个思慧教育有一场专门的加长讲座，是关于这个 last minute 文书写作建议的。然后星期6的话呢，我们也是请到了前康奈尔的招生办的主任来给我们分享一下，就是说亚裔的这样的一个身份哈，在现在的这样的一个竞争的环境里面，如何我们可以把它从劣势变成优势，来另辟蹊径，来进行一个名校的申请。好的，感谢大家今天的收听，然后拜拜。
好，谢谢大家，再见。